welcome to today's video. So today I want to explore a theory that you might have seen in various locations on the internet that goes that single pickup guitars, so Fender Esquires, Gibson Les Paul Juniors, can sound more lively, more resonant, more acoustically true, or sometimes you'll just see people using the word better, and then they're double pickup counterparts. So we're essentially talking Esquires and Juniors versus Telecasters and Les Paul Specials. So the reasoning behind this theory is that as pickups are made of magnets and our strings are made of steel on an electric guitar, even if we're on the bridge pickup and not using, we've got the neck pickup disengaged, just by way of having a magnet in close proximity to that steel string, it should in theory have some kind of influence over the movement of the string, hence the kind of more acoustically true hypothesis behind single pickup guitars. And this is a theory I've seen brought up by players like Alan Hines, Richard Fortus, Phil X, and having owned an Esquire, I picked one up last year, the 89 Japanese Esquire, and anyone who follows me on the channel or follows me on Instagram will know that I've fallen in love with that guitar, not just from a playing standpoint but also from a tonal standpoint. I do think there is something going on here, so I do subscribe to this theory that single pickup guitars maybe have some kind of mojo going on against their double pickup counterparts. So before we get started, I just want to go over a few kind of rules I'll be sticking to throughout the course of this experiment to make sure things are as fair as possible. But if anyone does want to jump straight to the comparisons, I'll put a timestamp down here. First off though, the way I'm going to kind of conduct the experiment, as you can see here, I've got my 1989 Fender made in Japan Esquire. I've taken the scratch plate off. As you can see, we've got writing for a neck pickup here. So I'm going to do a bunch of different A-B type clips, the first of which are going to be the guitar exactly as it is now, and then the second clip that you'll see, the only difference, I'm going to keep the playing exactly the same, I'll keep the tone the same pick, everything like that, but I'm going to introduce a neck pickup. I'm not going to do any wiring, there won't be any soldering involved. I'm literally going to slide it into the neck route, settle it down so it's sitting even across the plane of the strings, and then I'm going to take the wires off here so we can see that there's no kind of signal flow interference. So any differences we do hear in tone, in theory the only thing that could be held accountable is the presence of that neck pickup. At this point in the video I genuinely don't know whether we will actually hear any difference. I would like to think we will do, otherwise this might turn out to be a fairly boring video. But I would suggest that any differences we do hear will be very subtle, so I would suggest if you can listen to the next portion of the video either on headphones or studio monitors. I would suggest if we are going to hear a difference, it's likely to be in the sustain of the guitar. As the magnet is influencing the resonance of the string, it's likely, I would guess, to reduce sustain, but I suppose it could potentially increase it. I'm also interested to see if each of the strings are affected in the same way. Obviously the thicker strings move more than the thinner strings, so whether that comes into play when there's the presence of a neck pickup is something I'm keen to kind of explore. But I'll be doing a bunch of different clean tones, gain tones. I'm not using any pedals whatsoever, it's all just going straight into the amp. As I say, I think these differences will be very subtle, so I don't want to kind of introduce anything that might mask them. Anything clean is going into the Victor V40 and anything dirty is in the orange OR15. And with all that out of the way, I think we can get started and I'll get plugged in. so potentially not the most exciting video I've ever filmed, but I genuinely found it really interesting. It's something I've wondered about pretty much ever since, or maybe even before having an Esquire, so it was interesting to explore it and see if there was a difference. Personally, I felt that in having a pickup here, on a very, very subtle level, it did feel like there was a slight lower mid accentuation happening, and so you had a little bit extra low end, and more so than a frequency thing, it actually felt like specific notes or specific strings were ringing more, which is actually counter to what I expected. I was thinking that if anything, the lower strings moving more would be more affected by the pickup and they would potentially lose sustain. Where I noticed this most on the clean ring outs, on the single chords, I felt like, particularly on the A sus, I think the first chord that I played, it felt like there was a little bit more low end presence. I didn't really notice it so much on the picked stuff and on the chordy kind of things that I was doing high up, but certainly on the ring outs it felt like there was a little bit more low end going on. And for me, really, it was more the gainy tones where I noticed this, and it felt like more of an unwanted lower mid boost than a desirable one. Where I noticed it most was on the more chordy type riffs, so the and bonus points for anyone who recognised that as Odyssey from my last album. But I felt like I was losing a little bit of clarity within the gain and the in the chord voicings, and I also noticed it when I was doing the heavier riff with the in the palm mutes. I just felt like the low end was a little bit tighter, again to a very, very subtle degree. Nevertheless, I felt like there was some kind of tonal change there, and the purpose of this video wasn't to say whether single pickup guitars or double or even triple pickup guitars sound better. That's completely a subjective thing, and everyone's opinion on tone is valid. It was more just to really explore whether the theory of having a neck pickup here can have some magnetic interference with the vibration of the string. And I'd say on a subtle level, there is something happening there. There is a tonal interference, albeit a very, very minor one. If I'm being completely honest, even if all the tones had sounded identical and we proved there was no kind of tonal difference in having one or two pickups, I think I'd still choose a single pickup guitar most of the time. Obviously there's times when you might need a neck pickup, but for my own kind of playing and a lot of the kind of lead stuff I like to do, I find that having one pickup makes me play a little bit differently. I'm also not one for option paralysis. I don't tend to use many pedals, not that many amps. I prefer a simple type of rig. And I think a lot of the players who subscribe to this theory probably also work on a kind of similar basis. And it's more about what the guitar pulls out of you and what you can pull out of the guitar, and this kind of symbiotic relationship that you can end up with. So it's all completely preferential and subjective, but if anyone has got any questions about any of this, let me know in the comment section. You can send me a message at James Franklin Guitar. If there's anything about single pickup guitars, double pickup guitars, or anything else, do let me know in the comment section. If you did enjoy the video, please do click like and subscribe. I keep forgetting to say that on the recent videos, and it really does help out the performance of them. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.